It has been called one of the most dangerous illegal waste sites in the country. A huge 25,000-tonne dump of rubbish located next to a row of houses and a primary school near Wigan. Toxic fires, rat-infested homes and a putrid stench. Life next to the site has been described as a living hell. For more than a year, residents have been begging the authorities to clean it up. But so far, the Environment Agency has not said it has plans to do so. The legal responsibility for the cleanup lies with the landowner, and this programme can reveal tonight that one of the owners of the site is the Duchy of Lancaster, the private estate owned by King Charles, who inherited the land in July. Our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, has this exclusive report.
Flanked by houses, a playing field and a primary school. It's one of the UK's most dangerous illegal dumps. A rotting, stinking hill of largely household waste near Wigan. The lives of people nearby a living nightmare.
It's been hell. We've had rats, we've had flies, and then no one cares. No one cares.
No one cares?
No. I had rats scurrying around the whole ceiling, and with having 2 children that were petrified, we had to do something straight away.
Last summer, the waste heap went on fire, shutting the school for days. A major incident was declared. And tonight, Channel 4 News can reveal the owner of most of this dump. The owner who is trying to avoid paying a penny for the clean-up, trying to force you, the taxpayer, to foot the bill instead. And that landowner is the King. June, and the King drops in to one of his ancient homes in the area, Lancaster Castle. It's more than 1,000 years old. He owns this because of feudal laws which still govern much of the northwest of England. He gets land and property, lots of money and lots of profit. The Duchy of Lancaster made 24.4 million last year and has assets of 679 million. Usually, if someone dies in England and has no will or next of kin, their property goes to the Treasury. But this huge swathe of the northwest is the ancient County Palatine of Lancaster. If you live here, it goes to the Duchy of Lancaster, the King.
But what happens when land gets ceded to the King, which has big problems? And that brings us back to that stinking illegal rubbish heap near Wigan, behind me. The previous owner of part of this site went bust, so it was ownerless, so it was ceded to the monarch. But unlike the rest of us, King Charles has a get-out clause when it comes to footing or not footing the clean-up bill.
The King's officials simply argue that when he's given land with problems, called escheated property, he doesn't bear any responsibility. They told us the Duchy legally does not take on any liabilities in relation to escheated property. But there's more. Duchy officials told Channel 4 News they're trying to give the land to the council, which would mean taxpayers footing the bill. The Duchy has offered to transfer the land to Wigan Council and to cooperate with them to try and resolve the issue. We confirmed to the Council that the Duchy had no objection to the Council or Environment Agency using their statutory powers to enter onto the land for remediation purposes. In plain English, we want you, the taxpayer, to pay for the clean-up, which will be millions. Wigan Council, though, is not having that. It's already beginning to clear up its part of the site, imploring all those owning this site to take the necessary steps to fulfil their obligations, as the council put it. The Environment Agency can't force the King to clean up the mess, but agrees the obvious: he could pay for the clean-up if he wanted to. Baroness Sheehan, chair of the House of Lords Environment Committee, came to see the site for herself.
Well, what can I say, Alex? I think seeing it with my own eyes, it's beyond my imagination, actually.
But then we told her the King owns most of this site and is trying to give it away to the council, thus avoiding the clean-up bill.
Well, I take my hat off to Channel 4 for your investigative work. I think it is a revelation, and I think it'll be interesting to see now that this is in the public domain what happens next. The facts as you've presented them, it does seem rather unfair that the taxpayer is yet again having to pick up the bill for cleaning this dreadful, filthy mess up.
It is a curious position for a monarch with a long track record of environmental campaigning.
Our children and grandchildren will ask not what our generation said, but what it did.
Moreover, the king has explicitly stated that income from land and property acquired through feudal laws should be used for community and environmental purposes, not for profit. When he came to the throne, the king said that money should not benefit the privy purse, but should be used primarily to support local communities, protect the sustainability and biodiversity of the land. Strange indeed then that the duchy and thus the king appear to be doing something very different in this case.
As you can see, we've ended up taking our ceiling down because we had rats in our ceiling. We need to get the bait up.
something.
Yeah, it's really strong. Now, we do
People
have the bag
trying to live next door to the dump just want it sold. Rats, flies, smell, illness, or some with special needs, unable to stand it, who had to move to relatives. Nisha Rosen has been through it all.
So what puts this right?
Moving it. If they move it and then put something in place, this doesn't happen to anybody else in the country again. But once it's moved, the smells should then stop, which means my child can come back home and we can be a family again.
Tonight, the Duchy of Lancaster told Channel 4 News it is prepared to discuss all these issues with Wigan Council. But, as the King said, our children will ask us not what we said, but what we did.
Alex Thomason with that report. Well, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey, joins us now. Thanks for coming on the programme, Ed Davey. How appalled are you by this story?
It's quite shocking. My heart goes out to the families whose lives are being turned into a nightmare because of this. The smell, the fire risk, the reports, they feel like it's a prison. And, you know, what's happening in Wigan is happening across our country, Matt. You know, there are huge tips in places like Camborne, in Burnley, in Sittingbourne, in Kent, all across the country. And there are hundreds of these tips, some small, some as large as you've seen in Wigan. The government needs to get a grip on this, and they need to tell the Environment Agency to, first of all, be quicker in stopping the tipping in the first place and then get it cleaned up.
Right.
And get after the criminals, these waste criminals who are behind this.
But the Environment Agency is very clear. It says the responsibility for cleaning up the land, even if stuff was dumped by criminals, is on the landowner. The landowner in this case, principally, is the king. So should the king be cleaning this up?
Yeah, I think I think the government needs to put more pressure on the Environment Agency to do a little bit more than that. I think that's a bit weak from that. I think if they worked with landowners, whether the king or anyone else, landowners who are not involved in this crime will cooperate. I mean,
sorry to stop you there. Sorry, Ed David, but you know, this has been going on for a year. The residents have been complaining about this for a year.
Longer than that, Matt.
Well, this particular dump. The king inherited the land in the summer because of the strange rules around the Duchy of Lancaster. But surely someone in the Duchy of Lancaster knows what's going on. Should they not just pay for the cleanup? This is the right thing to do, you know, especially if you're a sovereign who prides himself on your environmental record.
Well, they can speak for themselves. It's actually been on 17 months, a long time. And you're right that we need to make sure that landowners work with the Environment Agency. The real villains of the piece here are these organised criminal gangs who are making the lives, people in Wigan, but people across the country, absolutely unbearable with these horrible fly tips of gigantic size. And I'm afraid the last government, the Conservatives, didn't get a grip of this. This government hasn't. I've raised it in Prime Minister's questions. There was an example in Kidlington in Oxfordshire of a horrible tip like this, and the government, had fine words, but really hasn't taken the action. Although in that case, to be fair, because of our pressure, the Environment Agency is cleaning it up and is footing the bill. Given what we achieved there from that Liberal Democrat pressure, I hope we can see that happen more.
But
and I just call on the Prime Minister to get a grip.
OK, the Prime Minister, the Environment Agency, the one body that you're not calling out is the Duchy of Lancaster, the owners.
No, well, clearly they have a role to play in this, but the law says that the Environment Agency needs to go after the culprits. If a landowner has been involved in some sort of conspiracy for this, then they should bear the cost. But some of these criminals are not getting caught, and even if the court when they are caught, they're not being forced to pay the penalties. The penalties need to be higher. This is a real problem for our whole country, and we've got a lot of ideas. You listen to Baroness Shaz Sheehan, one of my Liberal Democrat colleagues in the Lords. We've been leading on this issue, putting a lot of ideas for the government to take up,
you have.
to solve it, and to pay for it. And I'm afraid they've been hopeless.
And I'm afraid we've run out of time. Sir Ed Davey, thank you very much indeed.